Welcome to Let's try that again. I can read English.
One of us has prepared a topic that they're blah, 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 blah.
Yay, it's both of us.
This is going to be a long recording.
Welcome to Electric Enthusiasm, the podcast where we celebrate unironic enthusiasm. My first girlfriend turned into the moon, Katie Cobalt.
And I'm Alexander Kjove, and I have loved cartoons since I first saw Donald Duck throw a temper tantrum.
Ooh, classic, old school classic.
Yeah, right?
So Alex, how does this work?
In each episode, one of us has prepared a topic that they're super enthusiastic about and will do their level best to spread that enthusiasm to the other host. Sometimes we have guests on who are very excited about something that they get to share with us.
We also have a moment of meta where we get enthusiastic about enthusiasm itself and talk about why enthusiasm matters and how to live a more enthusiastic life.
And we want to hear about your enthusiasms. Visit our website, electricenthusiasm.com, or our Instagram @electricenthusiasm, and tell us what you're excited about these days. Or you could even plain old send us an email at hello@electricenthusiasm.com.
Today's topic, I'm so hyped about it. First, we need to make a note to the podcast listeners.
Right.
We did not realize that we both picked cartoons or comics.
Yeah.
That was a complete random happenstance because, again, we don't check in. We check in that the other person doesn't know the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't know that Modesty Blaze was a comic book character, and you didn't necessarily know that Avatar was a cartoon.
I know of its existence, never seen a single episode. For our first episode, I chose Harpo Marx. You went with Josephine Baker, same thing.
Yep.
Second one of mine, I went with Modesty Blaze, cartoon character, and you go with
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, it was amazing. We're so insane, Katie.
Very insane. Okay, so you know it exists. What else do you know about it?
Okay, there's a guy with an arrow on his head, right?
Yes. There is that guy. Okay.
Is that a Reddit upvote arrow or?
No, absolutely nothing to do with Reddit.
So is it an anime or a cartoon, or is that basically the same thing?
Okay, so for like true anime fans, they have an argument that anime is only made in Japan.
Huh.
And so this is not made in Japan. It is an American animation studio, Nickelodeon. Mm-hmm. However, most of the animation is done in South Korea, and the cast are mixed. Like there are some Asian people, there are some Western people, but the plot, it takes place in a fictional Asiatic world. Pretty much everyone is a person of color in this series. People make an argument that it's the first Western anime, finger quotes, but I honestly couldn't care less about how you categorize it. I just think it's a great show.
So we're about 30 seconds into this topic, and I've already stepped into controversy by calling it an anime. This is going to go great. The other thing I obviously know about it is that they made a live-action movie, which I hear is really good, right?
There is no movie in Boston. No. Quite like the Modesty Blaze moment, the movie is terrible.
Yes.
That didn't happen.
What happened to M. Night Shyamalan? I mean...
Shyamalama Ding Dong ruined it, mate.
Seriously. And he starts out by making, The Sixth Sense, great movie. He goes on to Unbreakable, which I personally really, really, really enjoyed. And from there, it's been one hell of a descent.
The main complaint is all of the characters, they're kind of based off different indigenous and Asian cultures. Mm-hmm. And to recast everybody as pretty much a white person, it's like... Y'all, why did you do that? There are so many amazing Asian actors or Inuit actors in the world. Why not? Why?
Why? Just why? Yeah.
Just why?
But that concludes my sum total of knowledge of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I know it exists, and I know there was a movie and it was terrible, and the guy had an arrow on his head.
Okay, cool.
I'm done.
That's like, you know quite a lot. You know a lot more about it than I knew about Modesty Blaze.
So far, so good. Should I ask you why this topic, or are you going to cover that?
I think it's going to become immediately obvious when I start talking about it.
Excellent.
Avatar: The Last Airbender is a Nickelodeon animated series created by Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Kozienetsko. It tells the story of young Avatar Aang. He's the dude with the arrow on his head. He is the last survivor of his nation of air nomads, and along with his friends Katara and Sokka of the Water Tribe and Toph Beifong of the Earth Kingdom, they strive to end the Fire Nation's war against the other nations of the world. It's funny, it's deeply poignant, it's full of wonderful characters and epic world building. The creators never shied away from complexity and tragedy and include concepts like war, genocide, imperialism, totalitarianism, free choice in a children's cartoon show.
This ran on Nickelodeon, you said?
Yes.
That's insane.
It's so insane. I'm going to give you 3 main reasons why I think you should sit down tonight and get on your Netflix and watch Avatar: The Last Airbender.
So here's the thing, Katie. I live in basically a third world country where Netflix in Denmark does not have Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's what ExpressVPN, the not sponsor of our podcast, is for.
I'll get on that right away.
Firstly, it's critically acclaimed pretty much universally by a variety of different people of all age groups. It is technically a kids show, but it's not just for kids. It's often considered to be the greatest television show of all time. It has won 5 Annie Awards, a Genesis Award, a Primetime Emmy Award, a Kids' Choice Award, and a Peabody. The series itself experienced a huge resurgence in popularity when it was added back to Netflix in May 15th of 2020. Just in time for all of us to get stuck at home and for people like me to rewatch the series again and for other people to join in and learn about it for the first time. It was the #1 most watched show on Netflix 4 days after its release, and it was in the top 10 of Netflix for 60 days. No other show had been in the top 10 for that long. And it's the most streamed children's series on the platform for 2020 as a whole. Everybody in the pandemic was like, you know what we need? We need a cute little kid with an arrow on his head taking down the world.
Love it. I get the sense that this is pretty good.
Yeah, it's universally loved. And I think the part of the reason why it's universally loved is that even if the episode is dark and handles really complicated themes about identity or about being a child in war, there's a sense of warmth to the series and a sense of hope. It's a very hopeful show. And I feel like maybe something happened in the summer of 2020 where we all needed a little bit more hope. Did you find during the pandemic you were trying to find like TV shows or movies that were very like kind and warm and empathetic?
Oh yes, my go-to show, and I think we watched it 3 times the whole show in that period, was The Good Place. The Good Place, for those who haven't watched it, is a short show, 4 seasons of 12 episodes each, and it's heartwarming, it's funny, and the last 2 episodes make me cry every single time. It's that good. How many episodes are there?
It's 3 seasons, and each season's called a book, and I think it's not that many episodes per season. I think I should know this, but I think it's like 12 episodes a season. It's quite short. But one of the reasons I think you would like the show is because it has the same kind of like warm empathy, kindness that The Good Place has.
Love that. And especially when it's not just that, if it can create that feeling in conjunction with heavy themes, I think that makes it even more powerful, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Next reason. So first reason, it's universally critically acclaimed. Everybody loves it. And so I think you will also love it. But I think one of the reasons why everyone loves it is this is epic fantasy with like deep world building. You have this careful integration of cultural, historical, martial arts, and fantasy magical elements from around the world. There are characters in the show who have the gift of bending. They can control one of the 4 elements: water, earth, fire, or air. And then the avatar can control all 4.
And interestingly, those are the 4 elements of the Aristotelian worldview. This is, of course, complete nonsense, but he believed that everything was made up of those 4 elements in various proportions. And that was there, before we had atoms and the periodic table. That was how they explained different materials was as made up of those 4 elements. Goes back to Aristotle.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Aristotle and Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, who knew?
Mm-hmm.
As you control the elements, the way they visualize that on screen with the animation is as a form of martial art. So the fluid style of waterbending grew out of the yang style of Tai Chi. Stoic, powerful, strong earthbending is derived from Hagao Kung Fu. And like the athletic, agile firebending is northern Shaolin Kung Fu. And airbending is like very circular, it's very floaty, and that derives from Bao Gua Zhang. And so each of these four elements has like a really distinct visual movement style. And so you can really clearly see the difference between each of them as movements.
So if you were one kind of bender, what kind of bender would you be, Katie?
It's kind of like Hogwarts houses.
Yeah.
Everyone has the thing that they gravitate towards. I actually was chatting with my friends earlier today. Which one do you wish you were versus which one are you actually? I wish I was earthbending. I think earthbending is the strongest of the four. I think it's the most stable. Also, metal derives from earth. Some people who have earthbending can also metal bend, which is very cool. Minor spoilers, by the by. But I don't think I'm an earthbender because earthbenders are stable and strong and set in their ways. They're maybe a little bit stubborn. Each of these nations have their bending style. It's built into their culture, right? If you are a nation of people who can move the dirt with your mind and you can move mountains, you are strong, you are stable, you are stubborn. I wish I was an earthbender, but I'm not. I think I'm probably in the Fire Nation. Fire Nation people are very passionate people. Like, fire is both life and energy and the light and warmth, but also is destructive. And they're kind of the bad guys of the show a little bit. I'm a bit of a Slytherin, and so I'm probably also a firebender.
Yeah, I do get the sense that, not knowing anything about this, that maybe, earthbending might be a little bit more useful. I'm going to throw this huge granite boulder at you. Might be more useful than here's a glass of water in your face. Take that.
So waterbending, it's very flowy. It's very powerful because like water can also become ice. So you can put ice through something and then freeze it, and then you can break rocks apart and stuff like that. And then airbending is specifically with the air nomads. So they're based off Tibetan monks. They're very joyful people. Like, part of the reasons why they can literally fly through the air with gliders is that they are so full of joy and life and lightness, so they can just fly around with gliders. Okay, question to you. Which one do you wish you were? Which one do you think you are? Important questions.
I would want to be one of those flighty, happy airbenders that, soaring over everything and just taking it all in and enjoying it. I would love to be that. But I am probably more of I think fire. I think I resonated with I think I connected what you were saying about the firebenders. Or maybe even one of those earthbenders.
You know what I think you're going to have to do, Alex?
Yeah.
I think you're going to have to watch the show to figure it out. I'm so sorry.
I am absolutely watching the show.
Because all of these nations are so distinct and different, they're actually roughly based off actual real world cultural examples. So Katara and Sokka, who are from the Southern Water Tribe, look like real indigenous people from Inuit who live in the Arctic. Aang, who is air nomad monk, has clear connections to Buddhism and Tibetan monks. The Earth Kingdom is very interesting, in my opinion, because it's mostly Chinese influences and even has a nod to the communist Beijing government with the Forbidden Kingdom, with their own version of the walled city called Ba Sing Se. There's a whole narrative about government control and having a puppet ruler. It's very political drama, but with flying rocks.
I love it. Yeah. Sounds amazing.
And then another reason why we should be in the Fire Nation is because it's based off real world volcano locations like Iceland and Hawaii. It's beautiful. But there's also very imperialistic Japanese vibes to the army in particular. Very ornate, beautiful armor with huge shoulder pads.
Nice. That's some good solid world building right there.
And I barely even scratched the surface of the world building thing. It's fantastic.
Awesome.
So this is a brand new podcast, and if you are as enthusiastic about enthusiasm as we are, please consider helping us out and spreading the word. I don't know about you, but the best way for me to learn about new podcasts is if one of my friends recommends one to me. So it would make us super happy if you enthusiastically spread your love of enthusiasm by telling your friends about electric enthusiasm. Can I say enthusiasm more times? No. Electric enthusiasm. Tell your friends about it. Do it.
That was awesome. Love it.
Quite like The Good Place, the final reason I think you will love Avatar: The Last Airbender are the characters. So, like The Good Place, we have our little motley band of weirdos and misfits who come together. We have these beautiful, deeply flawed characters who are delightfully compelling. And no main character is kind of left as a one-dimensional stock character. They're all given room to grow and change as the show goes on. You have strong female characters left, right, and center. One of the big bads of the series is a trio of women who just kick all kinds of butt. You can still be a badass warrior even if you're not a bender. Male characters actively fight back against shitty male protagonist stereotypes about not crying or not wearing or liking flowers and being needing to be a certain type of man.
That's amazing.
You have a character who is blind in the series. Her name is Toph Beifong, and she is respected and looked up to. There's also a character later in the series who is in a wheelchair. And again, these people are not seen as less than. They are seen as part of the community and part of the world. Lots of representation of different people of different backgrounds. And you also have, in my personal opinion, one of the greatest redemption arcs of all of fictional media history.
That's a lot.
I know.
That's a bold claim, Katie.
It really is. And it's not just me who says this. I was looking at a Forbes article. Can you please read the short little quote for me?
Before there was Kylo Ren, there was Prince Zuko. Kylo Ren wishes he had as much time to develop into a compelling, conflicted villain.
Kylo Ren wishes.
In his darkest moment, Kylo Ren is sitting in his mom's basement going, why couldn't I be as compelling a villain as Prince Zuko? Wow, that's amazing.
One of the other characters I wanted to mention to you is Uncle Iroh. Mm-hmm. And Uncle Iroh is a war criminal, objectively. He is a war criminal. He has done terrible, monstrous things in his time. But he has come round and sees the light. And he dispenses wisdom left, right, and center. And he is one of the reasons I rewatched this show over and over and over again. One of the things that he models in this show is this idea of a toxic parental relationship versus a healthy parental relationship. Maybe you have not a great relationship with your parents, or maybe you miss your parents because they're very far away, and you just need some lovely parental wisdom, advice, energy, love. That is what Uncle Iroh brings to the series.
Wow. If there's one thing I really enjoy in movies and TV shows, it's this idea of redemption, or this idea of a second chance, that even if you've been a terrible person, you can change. And I think that mirrors reality. I mean, I think that happens all the time. People do change. People do get better. People do see the error of their ways as very, very powerful. I love those stories because there can be a strong tendency in society. If somebody's done something bad, they are now bad forever. They are now beyond redemption. They must be shunned. They must be, cast out. And a terrible way to treat people, because people can change. I think the Good Place is all about that, right? These people lead terrible, shitty lives on Earth, but they get a second chance. They get redeemed. Yeah. We can do that through the power of our example, and by loving people as they are, we can actually bring them back in instead of casting them out. And any show that models that gets a gold star in my book. So well done, Avatar.
That actually is one of the main themes of the series. One of the big conflicts that the Avatar has is, what should he do with the big bad guy? Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't believe that killing is correct. Because you can't kill someone because they're a bad person. There's another evil character called Azula. She's 14 in the show. She grew up in a really toxic environment. She completely bought into this imperialistic mindset that power and ambition was the only thing she was going for. And when she's finally taken down, it's not seen as a celebration in the show. It's very clearly portrayed as a tragedy, that she's lost her way, that she's lost her mind.
Wow.
This is a sad thing. This is a child who was treated incredibly terribly by her father for her entire life, and she wanted this so badly that she completely lost her way. And that's what I really like about the show. Everyone in the show is treated with empathy, even if they are a bad person, even if they've done terrible things.
One of the most powerful examples I've heard of in real life was some years ago, there was a school shooting in Amish country. So this non-Amish man went into a school, and I think he shot 6 kids and the teacher and himself. At his funeral, the whole Amish community show up with gifts and food for his family to show, we are not mad at you. We forgive him. Yeah. We want you to know that you are still a valued member of our community. We don't hate you for what he did. We don't even hate him. We forgive him.
Yeah.
And it's also a stark contrast to a lot of media, because a lot of action movies are based on the premise that the bad guy in this movie is beyond redemption. Yeah. Because if he were capable of being redeemed, when the hero finally kills him, that would be a bad thing, right? It's just so great to have something that goes beyond that and acknowledges the complexity. And to do it in a kid show on Nickelodeon is completely insane.
I was just about to remind you, and this is a children's TV show. So, quick fire, really excellent things. It's funny. It's really funny. There are some genuine laugh out loud moments. There are some really cool monsters in the show. Both cute, fluffy ones that are part of the gang, but also freaking terrifying sea serpents. As I mentioned before, and I'll say it again, it's beautiful. The animation style, the colors, the way that everything comes together, all of the different cultures having their own different art styles. It's a beautiful show. Have I sold you on it so far?
I am watching this tonight. I'm not even kidding. We are going to sit down tonight and binge Avatar: The Last Airbender. Just out of curiosity, given that it's made by Westerners, but set in this obviously fictional, but still an Asian setting, how was it received in Asian countries who might see themselves or their own culture in this?
Because it's an American show, but it's an Asian show, it really does appeal to people who are the Asian diaspora. As a Chinese girl who was living in Europe, that combination of Eastern, Western cultures really is very, very appealing. I've never heard any Asian person not completely love the show because it's so genuine and it's such a true homage. Like, some of the weaponry in the show are direct replicas of stuff that you find in ancient China. And there's so many clear references to Asian culture that are done with such grace and such honor that it's not a bad thing at all.
That is excellent, because if they'd done it badly or exploitatively, this could have been just cultural appropriation all over again.
Mm-hmm. Xiran J. Zhao is a Chinese author who grew up in China and now lives in Canada. She wrote Iron Widow, but she also has a YouTube channel where she talks about Asian references in Western media. So she breaks down Mulan, she breaks down Kung Fu Panda. She also did a really amazing breakdown of all 3 seasons of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Once you've seen the series, I highly recommend going and looking at her YouTube series.
I can tell you, as a Dane, there are a lot of Viking shows these days. Every single one of them is, in my opinion, terrible.
Oh, no.
And I don't feel culturally offended, because this is not the Denmark of today. This is, the Viking culture 1,000 years ago. But still, damn, it's dumb. It's just dumb. It's just, man.
Okay, are you ready for the bad news?
Yes.
Bad news number 1, you already knew about this. The film is absolute shit.
So you actually watched it, right?
I watched the first 20 minutes and then I walked out the cinema.
I heard a great expression once. If you're in a situation where you can't stand this, you can say, "I shall dignify this with my absence."
I shall dignify this with my absence. Yes, that is how I felt about it. Netflix is currently in the process of making a live action TV show. They had the original creators on the production team, but then like a month ago, they've stepped back from the production, citing creative differences.
I'm honestly genuinely nervous about it now, and I haven't even watched the cartoon. Yeah. Oh, man.
they've released the cast images of who they've cast, and everyone's a person of color. They've actually managed to get an Inuit actress for the role of Katara, which is great. So, like, we have hope, but little hope, very little hope.
And when is this supposed to come out?
I don't know. Its production got stalled because of COVID, so we'll see. There is a sequel made by the exact same creative team called The Legend of Korra.
Mm-hmm.
And it follows the next Avatar in the series. The Avatar is the one person who can control all 4 elements. When they pass, a child will be born, and they will be the next Avatar. Quite like the way that the Dalai Lama is regenerated?
Mm-hmm.
Regenerated. What's the word? Reincarnated. Quite like the way the Dalai Lama is reincarnated.
I kind of like regenerated, actually.
I think that's a bit Doctor Who-y.
Yeah. Reconstituted.
Yeah.
Like...
And it's actually like really similar to the Dalai Lama, because when you're an infant, you're handed a bunch of toys, and whichever toys you're more likely to be drawn to is like, so you are the Avatar. The next one is a young woman called Korra, and this takes place in kind of like a 1920s steampunk world. We have some industrialization happening. We have some very excellent vintage fashion, very steampunk vibes. The only issue is that Nickelodeon, the animation studios, weren't 100% on board with having a surly teenage girl being the protagonist. This really wasn't helped by immediate backlash from the fans. People weren't on board with her right away. And is it because Korra is a queer woman of color who is like visibly dark-skinned? When she's rude or surly or stubborn, she can't get away with that the same way a male protagonist could because gender and sexism. It's hard to say, like, her attitude and her behavior is not dissimilar from Prince Zuko at the beginning of the series, and that Prince Zuko is loved and adored, but Korra doesn't get that same benefit of the doubt. Is it because she's a queer woman of color? Who can say?
I think we can say.
we can say, yeah. The series kind of lost network support. Nickelodeon got a little bit nervous about it. And so it got booted from the TV channel, Nickelodeon, and got pushed onto Nick.com, which is their online streaming network. Each season finale feels like a series finale. It feels like the writers were a little bit like, are we going to get canceled? But if we get canceled, maybe we get canceled. I would argue Avatar: Last Airbender is a tight, well-written from start to finish. It's really cohesive. And then Korra is a little bit more jumbled. It's not quite as connected, and it doesn't feel like one whole thing that's together. But how many shows do we get a strong bisexual woman with dark skin as a main character?
I am struggling to think of a single one right now. Honestly. Yeah. That's amazing.
I've heard very good things about the comic books. I haven't read any of the comic books. My favorite fun fact that I've learned about the comic books is that Toph Beifong, one of my favorite characters, she is an earthbender. And apparently, she just decides at one point to go around erecting statues of herself because she feels she needs statues of herself.
Imagine having that power, right? You're at a bus stop. You're kind of bored. You're waiting for the next bus, and you're like, there should be a statue of me, right? Boom, there. And there it is.
So I think that's another reason why I think earthbending is fire. Like, I would just love the idea to just be like, you know what we need here? A statue of my face. Boom. Have I sold you on Avatar? Have I done my job?
214%. This is beyond. It sounds amazing. I've known of its existence for years, but nobody has ever told me how awesome it is until you just did just now. We are watching this tonight.
Yes! Tell me how you and Patricia like it. I would love to hear about your review.
Yes, we absolutely are.
And if you were paying attention to the Olympics this year, you will have seen a lot of Airbender references. So the Mexican synchronized swimmers team both had the koi fish from season 2 of Avatar on their costumes. And my personal favorite is the Dutch windsurfer committed so hard he had shaved his head except for an arrow on his head, which he dyed blue to match Avatar Aang. And it's so good because if you think about it, he's a windsurfer. He uses the wind to travel. And he said he wanted to pay homage to the true ultimate windsurfer, the airbender Avatar Aang, and he looks fantastic but also completely ridiculous.
I love that. That is so cool.
So Alex, what about Avatar: The Last Airbender resonated with you?
Obviously, it sounds great. And there are three things in it that I love in all kinds of media. One is solid world building, where you have this world that is different from ours, that is uncovered as you go along and you keep learning things about it. I think that is fantastic. In one of our upcoming episodes, I will try to sell you on Dune, the sci-fi novel, which is probably the ultimate example of world building. I love that kind of thing. You have the story unfolding, but at the same time, you have the world unfolding. Second, good characters. Good, strong characters that don't start changing their basic personality in the middle of the show, but actually stay consistent throughout. I'm looking at you, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones? I was going to say, cough, cough, Game of Thrones. We're watching it.
Oh, man. And then this whole notion that we can have a story where we cover tough subjects, but we can do it in a way that is ultimately uplifting and hopeful. Any show that can do that, I'm down for it. So, Katie, if somebody is now as sold on Avatar: The Last Airbender as I am, where should they start?
If you would like to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, it's on most Netflix. If not, our not sponsors, Surfshark, NordVPN, and ExpressVPN can help you out with that. So what do you think of Avatar: The Last Airbender? If you're already a fan, what did I miss? What else should I have spoken about? Go onto our Instagram and let me know. I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts.
And now, the moment of meta.
Sorry, like this music moment.
I think we need a jingle for the moment of meta, right? And now the moment of meta, where we talk about enthusiasm itself. In previous episodes, we've covered the two first rules. Rule 1, never try to diminish someone else's enthusiasm, or as Katie puts it,
don't yuck someone's yum.
Exactly. Rule number 2, almost any topic can be fascinating when shared with enthusiasm. And today I want to talk about the third rule of enthusiasm. You could call them the commandments of enthusiasm.
What was your name for it again?
Yeah. I am calling it, over Katie's objections, the enthusiandments.
It's growing on me.
Oh, there we go. Rule number 3, do share your enthusiasm with others.
Yeah.
If you are genuinely excited about something, do not hide it. Maybe somebody else is equally excited about that and you could have a conversation about that. Maybe you could get them into it and somebody else would be now enjoying something that you are enjoying too. I'll give you an example from my personal life. There's a joke about CrossFitters. How can you tell if a person does CrossFit?
You don't have to. They're going to tell you.
Exactly. It's called CrossFit, but it's also known as cult fit for a reason. And I can't tell you how often I will drop CrossFit into the conversation, as I've just artfully, skillfully done right now without anybody hardly noticing. I just had my 10-year CrossFit anniversary, actually. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I still enjoy it. It's still the best kind of exercise I've ever done. And it's a lot of fun. And talking about it with other people, I've actually managed to turn a lot of people onto CrossFit. There are a lot of people doing CrossFit because I originally mentioned it to them. And I talk about it with enthusiasm and excitement and how much it hurts. For some people, that's a turn on. I often leave a workout with like a metallic blood taste in my mouth. Common conversation topic among us CrossFitters is how much your body is in pain right now. How much are you hurting from the workout yesterday or whatever?
This is one of the reasons we go on so well. It's this idea of be enthusiastic and share that. You can find friends who love CrossFit. Or I could find friends who will send me Avatar memes endlessly. One of my really good friends, Shelby Johnson, he's another dancer based out in Texas. We met at one event, found out we both were super into Avatar, and our friendship has bloomed from there. Because anytime either of us finds a good Avatar meme, we'll send it to the other person. It's such a delightful friendship, but I honestly could not have been friends with this person if I had not have been unironically enthusiastic about a children's cartoon show.
Yes. And I think the powerful thing here is to be enthusiastic about it and show it. Mm-hmm. Instead of going, yeah, I watched this show, I guess it's kind of okay. Yeah. It's pretty good, right? Why not say, this is freaking awesome? And let me tell you why it's awesome. When you do that, I think you are putting yourself out there a little bit. You are taking a risk. You are sticking your neck out for something you're excited about. There is every chance that people will go, you watch kids' cartoons? What are you, 7?
Yes. Yes, I am.
But there is also the chance that that person will go, wow, that sounds amazing. Or you love it too. So do I. And then you have a lifelong connection from something that you share a passion for. That's why sharing your passions, sharing your enthusiasms, and doing so enthusiastically, I think is absolutely crucial.
It also totally goes back to rule number 2, which is if you are sharing enthusiasm, you are interesting. You are fascinating in that moment. We all have this fear that we're not interesting, that we're not a worthwhile person to talk to, or not anything enough. But if you got that enthusiasm, you got that little fire of passion burning inside of you, you are incredible. You are amazing. And then through that, you can make connections with people over CrossFit or cartoons or, 1960s fictional spy women. Anything is possible.
Yes, exactly. And for me, the final reason why sharing your enthusiasm, displaying your enthusiasm is so good is that occasionally you will be super enthusiastic about something and you'll come across people who they cannot share enthusiasm. They mistrust people who are too excited because they find them weird.
Oh, so you've also been to England.
Yes, the English are somewhat infamous in this regard. When you come across a person like that, either through the power of your example, win them over, show them this is genuine, I'm not kidding. And if they are truly incapable of being excited about anything, then you know who to stay away from.
And now we know why I don't live in London anymore. No, kidding.
Yes, I mean, you'll attract people who can share enthusiasm and you'll repel those who just find it icky and weird and too much, which is great because they can go hang out with all the other unenthusiastic people and be boring together.
Yeah, those ironic detached people who think it's cool to not be excited about dumb things.
So that was your moment of meta.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Electric Enthusiasm. Please feel free to reach out to us on our social medias or by email. We would love to hear about you and your enthusiasms.
And now, dear listener, I think you should go have a redemption arc worthy of Prince Zuko.